But first, we'll talk about the common emotions. And I'm going to go through these fairly quickly because the handout that you have lists both the emotions and how to cope with them. But in the interest of crazy slides, I wanted to limit that a little bit. So ambivalence. So the feeling of, kind of wanting to be somewhere and not wanting to be somewhere. Anger, anxiety, boredom. Caregiving can actually be kind of boring, right? You're stuck at home taking care of someone, even if it's someone you love dearly. You're not doing things that fulfill you in the outside world. Feeling cranky and irritable, depressed, disgust sometimes. So some people really can't handle the toileting aspect, if that's an aspect of caregiving, right, for your loved one. Embarrassment, maybe if you're out at an appointment or out for lunch and your loved one makes some impolite comments or loud comments, or they make a kind of a ruckus around going to the restroom. This for our what we're used to, this can be embarrassing and unnerving. So fear, what if something happens, or thinking about all of the what ifs. Feeling frustrated, right, that you can't do the things that you want to do, or that things didn't go as planned. And grief, watching your care recipient decline, there's not really a whole lot you can do about it. Or guilt about not having done enough in the first place, or feeling like you want this to end, or having been impatient with your care recipient at times, right? Mom, we already talked about this, or, hurry up, let's go. Impatience, so trying to get your loved one up in the morning, get them out for an appointment, that kind of thing. Feeling jealous of maybe other friends or other family members who aren't, kind of doing their part in a sense, while you have all these caregiving responsibilities. Or maybe a friend whose parent died quickly, no matter how painful that may have been, but you're taking care of a parent who's had dementia for many, many years. It's a very long, ongoing process with a lot of other emotions in there too. Feeling unappreciated, feeling lonely, right? Caregiving can be very isolating. Feeling a loss, so loss of control, loss of independence, loss of income, all of these things. Resentment, so you're being put in a situation maybe not of your choosing, so feeling negative and resentful, so maybe your siblings aren't helping you to provide care or providing some other source of help. And feeling tired, right? Again, we talked about sleep, but as a caregiver, how often do you really get 8 hours of sleep a night? Probably not that often. So these are all very common, nothing to feel shame or embarrassment or guilt around, because there are ways to cope with those. And the most I think effective ways are getting support. And oops. Oh, I think I did a little bit of a slide reversal. Hold on, I did, sorry. So support can be in the form of respite care. So respite means, right, getting relief, getting a break. And without respite care, we're subject to burnout, right? So we'll feel exhausted, frustrated, impatient, trouble coping with the day-to-day. What is the prevention? Getting respite before you experience those symptoms. Taking care of you. So what do I mean by respite care? What does this look like? So this can be time and assistance from family or friends. So it can mean, again, specific tasks or duties that a family or member or friend can do, having that at the ready so that you can say, yes, you can do these things for me, here you go. Getting professional in-home help. So this would be a professional paid caregiver. If you can afford it, or if you perhaps have your loved one has a long-term care policy that will help them to cover those expenses. Paid caregiving is not cheap, but if there's a possibility of your loved one or your siblings being able to afford it, it can make a big difference for you as the primary caregiver to get that respite. If your loved one has Medi-Cal, there is also in-home supportive services. So that's actually a covered benefit through Medi-Cal, and that is free caregiving. But you do have to go through some application steps, but that is an option. There's also something called adult day health care. So that is a program that is free for Medi-Cal recipients or is relatively low cost for people who are not on Medi-Cal, who are paying out of pocket. And that's a program where it's, in essence, like a safe and social and medically comprehensive camp in a sense. So usually it's a day program from about 9 until 3. Some programs have transportation to and from, which is even better. But basically your loved one would get to go to a community center where there's licensed staff, so they get meals, they get social activities, they get their medication taken care of, and so you have that time to do whatever you want or need to do, and you know that your loved one is safe and getting the care that they need and deserve. If you have a trip planned, whether it's a vacation that you desperately need, or perhaps you're still working, you have a work trip that you have to go on, you need someone to take care of your loved one, you can put them temporarily in an assisted living or another, assistive care residence where you know that they'll be safe and taken care of as well. And this can be a 1-week stay, a 2-week stay. Most assisted livings have this sort of program. And then if your loved one is a veteran, I definitely encourage them to, or encourage you probably to get in touch with the VA to see how they may be eligible for a certain amount of assistance every year with a caregiver or respite care. There are certain benefits that many veterans have in that regard. And it can be very difficult to take this break, right? Because you feel guilty, but you're really saying, okay, this is what I need for me so that I can give the care to my loved one. It can really help to talk, as with many things, if you're unfamiliar with something, talking to someone who's experienced respite care, who's used respite care before, so that you can find out what worked well for them or what didn't, and take that information and use it, for yourself. And knowing that taking a break will help you, right, and the person that you're caring for. And of course, what can you do with your respite time? You can use it to clean the house if you want, or you can do something that you actually would like to do, that you've been meaning to do or wanting to do for a long time, so that you can feel more refreshed. So, oops, going back one slide, sorry.